Okay, welcome back, everyone. What we're going to talk about here, there's actually two parts to your final assignment, assignment, we'll call it that. One is the creation of what I call an event timeline chart. The other is the components, creating of the components for that chart. Now, what does this mean? As I've mentioned before, I'm sure plenty of times, that in your business careers, you are not going to be dealing with maybe just one person one time a day. You may be dealing with several people on several projects concerning several identities and everything else. So you're going to have a lot of balls up in the air, as the cliche goes. Now, what you don't want to do is miss something. Okay, that's the worst thing you can do. Now, what do I mean by miss something? What we're talking about here is missing a communication that is required for the event. Okay. Now, event could be one project you're working on. You could have 10 projects that you are assigned. Each of those will be an event, so you have 10 events. Okay. Each of those events, though, could have several what I call threads or many threads. Could be one, could be many. Now, threads are like the parallel lines of conversations that will be going on with other different entities that you need to get all the pieces of the puzzle together so that at the end of the event, everything is done properly. Now, I hope I didn't confuse you, but maybe as we go through the chart, this will make more understanding. Now, this chart is there, it's nothing that you know published out there. It's something that I actually created. You will probably have something similar. Now, it may be totally in your head, which I hope it isn't. But I just always kind of had this, a little day timer. Now, day timing isn't really a big thing anymore, but there was a day timer, and you put in what you had to do these days and what were you expecting and all kinds of stuff. And these help to ensure that things didn't get dropped. Ball doesn't get dropped, okay? So again, I put these ideas into a chart. Now, the chart is for your use only. Your boss is never going to ask you, let me look at your timeline chart. No, they probably don't even know you have a timeline chart. They may not even have a clue what a timeline chart is. It's a tool that will help you. So let's take a look at what this chart looks like. Well, first of all, here's the event. Okay, I'm jumping the gun. This event looks familiar. Why? Because, well, you've already worked on it. It was a negative part of the negative message component of Module 4, but it's pretty much the same event. I made some tweaks so I could add more threads into it. Now, I'm not going to bother reading it right now. You can take a look at it. You can always pause this and take a look at it. Now, there is Mr. Vasquez. There are specific dates. There is Mr. Smith. There is an attorney involved in the mix now. So what all of these pieces of the puzzle, you are going to be working with them in a line to gather information, to obtain information, to share information, so that at the end of the event, everybody will be, quote, satisfied. The event would come to conclusion. So in this case, you have Mr. Vasquez who's complaining about noise. All right, what you have to do, since you own the business or own the building, is come up to some kind of a resolution that Mr. Vasquez will be happy, and you don't have to evict Mr. Smith. All right, so this is the event we're going to use. Next, this is the chart. Now, again, it's just a table, a chart, whatever you want to call it, something I put together that will help you. Now, again, you will be the only one using this. Now, I will see it, but in the real world, if you use this or something similar or create your own, you will be the only one who's using it. So with this in mind, let's take a look at the headers. Well, the date. The date is the date of the thread, the event for the timeline, okay? The recipient. Well, the recipient is who is receiving, who is at the end, the recipient, the end receiving of the whatever that is. Is it a letter? Is it a memo? Is it a telephone call? Is it a face-to-face meeting? Is it smoke signals? Is it carrier pigeon? I don't know. That is the person. Now, who's it from? Well, most likely it'll be from you, but you'll certainly be receiving things from other people, in which case then you'll be the recipient and they will be the from person. Copy. Now, what do I mean by copy here? Well, you should get used to figuring out, do I need to CC carbon or courtesy copy, or BCC, blind carbon, blind courtesy copy, individuals or files or entities. Okay, this BCC and a CC is not only for a person, it could be, and I've used these extensively in my business career, files related to the event, files related to the individual, files related to the project. Okay, that way you've got records. We talk about CYA. This is a CYA thing. So it could be, you may have a CC. I mean, if you have a face-to-face with somebody, you're going to have no CCs, no BCCs. You could also put in here attachments, enclosures, possibly PSs. Just little things that'll help you remind you. Medium, well, what is it? Letter, memo, phone call, face-to-face, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, whatever the medium is that you're using to get the message across or receive the message. Tone, well, negative, persuasive, routine. Those are your three choices. Okay. The subject, well, the subject is, what's the overall broad subject of whatever the correspondence is? And then the call for action, CFA, what is it that you would like or the other person would like to see happen as an end result to this communique? Now, what you would do is, in the blank boxes below it, is put in, for example, the date, whatever it would be, November 22, 2022. The recipient could be, oh, I don't know, John Doe. It could be from you, in which case then you would just type in me. If there is a copy or an attachment or something, you can just write a little note in there. Yes, it could be CC John Doe file, something like that, or BCC John Doe file. Medium, an email. Okay. Tone, routine. Subject, business project. And then the call for action would be to call with information. Yeah, it doesn't have to be in detail. It's just so that you know what's going on. Okay. So let's move on now and take a look and put together that event that we talked about and create this form. So here we go. So we know I've got the event on the top and I got the form below. And as each new thread, if you wish, comes to surface, we will put it in. So the first one we see here is that you must respond to the April 4, 2023 letter from Mr. Vasquez. So let's put that in the form. And as you can see here, under date, we have April 4, 2023. The recipient is me, or would be you, because Mr. Vasquez is writing to you or me. From, and I just put down Mr. V. I could have borrowed Vasquez, but again, it's just for my knowledge. Don't have to do that. Copy. I don't know if there was any CCs, BCCs, attachments, or anything, so I just put in NA for not applicable. We know it's a letter because we said we got a letter. The tone is negative. We know it's negative because he's not happy. All right. And what's the subject? The overall subject? He wants Smith evicted. He wants eviction of Mr. Smith. The call for action at the very end, he comes out and says, Smith must go. Evict Smith. So that's how you would write that. Very short, encrypted if you want to call it that, but just enough so that you and, well, possibly I will have an understanding of what you're doing. All right. Now, what are you going to do? You've got this response, or you got this letter from him. I would urge you to immediately, as soon as you get it, send a message back to Mr. Vasquez saying, I got your letter and I'm working on it. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. It is just acknowledgement of receipt of the message. So, this one could be like, if it was dated April 4th, might take a couple days to get there. So we'll say April 6th. And it's to Mr. Vasquez in this case, from me. And now what I've done here is I like to have those CYA files. So I have a Mr. V file. He doesn't know it. He doesn't want to know, or I don't want him to know I got a file. So that's why I BCC'd him. It is an email in this case. An email is fine. It's just an acknowledgement. So an email is quick, it's down, it's dirty, just do it, and away you go. So I'm sending him an email. It is routine. Got your letter, working on it. We'll keep you posted. Subject, received your letter, and the call for action, I'm working on it. All right. Now, okay, now that we've done that, we have to find out what are your legal rights as a property owner or a lease owner, if you wish, in this particular case. So the smartest thing you'll probably want to do is, and it already says in here, is that on April 8th, 2023, you contact your lawyer. You want to find out what are your responsibilities and limitations. So April 8th, 2023, the recipient of the message is your lawyer. It is coming from me or you, as the case might be. I don't have a copy here. There's nothing applicable here. Why? Because I made a phone call. In this particular case, a phone call is down and dirty. It's easy to do. You just really want to find out a quick answer. And so you make a phone call to your lawyer. It is routine. You just want information. And you're basically saying, can I evict Mr. Smith? All right, that's the subject. Eviction, question mark, call for action. What can I or can't I do? All right, and so that leaves it there. Let's see what's next. Also, on that same day, you do find out that you cannot evict him. Now, you've got the information. Now, this is something I want to stress with you. When you get out there in the big old real world, if you have a verbal conversation, okay, a Zoom or whatever, something that is not in writing, confirm the results of that conversation, that meeting in writing. Okay, now I'm not, again, this is a CYA. Why should you do that? Are you 100% guaranteed? Would you bet your life that all the notes you took, the information you got is accurate? Another question, are you 100% sure that the information that you received from the other person is accurate? I would never be 100% sure about that. So what I always do is send a quick follow-up. All right, and let's take a look here. So the same day I put down the phone with my lawyer, same day to my lawyer, and I've got a BCC for Mr. V file, I am sending my lawyer an email. It is routine, dear lawyer, whatever. Thanks for the conversation. This is what you told me. If it is inaccurate, please let me know immediately. Period. That's all you have to do. So again, the medium, email, it is routine. The subject is the meeting, your conversation you had, and is the information correct? Let me know. Perfect. So now you have that covered. Let's move on now. You know you can't evict. So let's see what we got next. The next day, okay, you've had a rough day. April 9th. The recipient in this case is going to be Mr. Smith. You still don't have to talk to Vasquez yet. You only have to let him know the end result. But now you have to address the issue with Mr. Smith. Now remember, you're not going to share who made the complaint. I would never ever do that, okay? But you're going to just, you have to let Mr. Smith know that there's an issue out there. So, the recipient, Mr. Smith, from me again. Again, no copy because you make a quick phone call, and you say, oh, just, hi, Mr. Smith, this is, Tony Cordy, the owner, blah, 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 whatever you want to say. It is routine. Just say, you'd like to set up a meeting with him because you've heard some issues about noise and you just want to clarify it and come up to some kind of resolution. Just very normal, very routine. You're not threatening, you're not casting blame. You just need more facts. So again, the medium would be a phone call. Okay. It is routine. It is setting up a meeting, and you have a meeting set up in this particular case for April 12th. Okay, that's what you two decide upon. Could be any date, but that's what the event said, April 12th. All right, so you have this meeting at 5 p.m. Cool. Onward. Now, do you have to follow up with that one? No, because you both have the date. Okay, you both wrote it down. You could follow it up. I'm not saying you don't have to, but in this case, you both put it down on your calendar. Yeah, maybe I would, maybe right afterwards, send a quick email. Good talking to you, April 12th, 5 p.m. You could do that. Okay. I don't know how necessary it is at this point in time, but it would not hurt to do that. So here we go, April 12th. You now have your meeting. The recipient is Mr. Smith. It's from you. Again, there's no copy. Why? Because you're having this face-to-face meeting. You're sitting down, in the coffee shop or whatever, whatever you set up. And what you are going to do now is you're going to be persuasive in tone. Okay? What you're trying to do is let Mr. Smith know that there are issues with the noise, and a solution that you came up is maybe restricting the time, and you can set that up whatever you want, 11 to 1 p.m. And what you're doing is trying to persuade him to agree to that. All right? So, again, under medium, face-to-face meeting, tone is persuasive, the subject, time restriction, and the call for action is restrict the music to select times. All right? And we're going to assume that, yes, indeed, that, you'll agree with that, and so we'll go. Let's see what's next. Also on the 12th, what I am going to do now, since we had a face-to-face, we have an agreement, we have really a contract of sorts. I'm going to put it in writing. That face-to-face meeting, I'm going to confirm it in writing. So again, the recipient here, Mr. Smith, from me. I'm going to BCC Mr. V file. Okay, no reason. Smith doesn't know. Mr. Vasquez is complaining. He doesn't need to know. But I need to keep a record of it. I'm sending him a letter. Why a letter? Why not an email? Well, we talked a little about this before. A letter is admissible in a court of law as evidence, if you wish. An email, maybe, but a letter, no question about it. So if worse came to worse, you've got the hard copy letter. It is persuasive, okay? Because you're reiterating, you're trying to, even though he verbally agreed, you want to make sure. And so it is going to be basically a persuasive letter, time restriction, and restriction for the music time. Okay? Next, what you have to do now is we're going to close up this event. You've come to a satisfactory agreement. Okay? The problem potentially has been resolved. You have to go back to where it all began, and this is Mr. Vasquez. So on the same day, the 12th or the 13th, or something very, very soon, you need to contact Mr. Vasquez with the results of what you've come up with, how to settle it. So to Mr. Vasquez, from me, a BCC, Mr. V file. Again, we're putting this stuff in writing. It's going to be a letter, again, very formal. It's negative in nature. The tone is going to be negative, and it's negative not because the end result is negative, but because Mr. Vasquez wanted Smith evicted. Well, you're not evicting him, but you're throwing him a bone, and that bone happens to be the restricting time for the music, which will satisfy Mr. Vasquez's concerns. So it is negative in tone. We're going to have to convince him there is going to be a time restriction, and the music will be restricted to this time limitations. That, ladies and gentlemen, ends this particular event. Now, as you can see, we had what? 4 people, including yourself, in it. This is very small. Okay, and this only happens over a few days. So think what you would be doing if you had a number of other people, entities, back and forth communicating over months, possibly years. Okay, so again, this is just a tool. So that covers this. Now you will be doing this for your team project, and you will be doing this for your individual project. If you do have questions on this process, you gotta let me know, because if you don't get this right, the rest of it won't be 100% correct. Okay? Anyways, enough of that. Let me know if you have questions, and have a great day. Take care now.